You're probably sitting on the couch, scrolling through endless TV specs, wondering if that massive 85-inch screen is going to be a money-burning mistake, or the upgrade your living room has been begging for. I get that hesitation splurging on a TV that ends up looking dull in your space, or that you can't actually use the way you hoped is a real risk. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's walk through what the TCL 85-inch QM7L actually does in a typical home, where the value really lives, and who should walk away without hitting buy. First off, size matters. An 85-inch diagonal screen isn't something you can just drop in a bedroom. You need a room where you can sit back at least 8 feet away to let the picture settle. If you have a dedicated media room, a large sectional, or a fairly open family area, the screen will dominate the space in the way you expect: immersive, cinematic, and hard to miss. But if you're looking at a cramped apartment or a kitchen nook, you'll quickly notice that the sheer footprint makes mounting a challenge, and the viewing angles become a real concern. The TV's slim bezel helps a bit, but the wall mount and the extra weight mean you'll probably need a professional installer, which adds to the total cost beyond the sticker price. Now, picture quality is where the SQD-Mini-LED and ultra-color filter claims start to matter. Mini-LED backlighting gives you a lot more dimming zones than a traditional edge-lit panel, and TCL says they use up to the LD2100 precise dimming series. In practice, that translates to deeper blacks in a dark room and less blooming around bright objects. I tested the TV with a mix of HDR movies, a bright sports broadcast, and a standard definition sitcom. In the darkroom HDR clip, the shadows held detail without turning into a mushy gray, and the highlights, like a burst of fireworks, popped without washing out the surrounding area. The ultra-color filter pushes the color gamut a notch higher than most budget 4K sets, so you see richer greens in a nature documentary and more vivid reds in a drama. It's not a reference-grade display, but for a living room TV that costs a fraction of the flagship OLEDs, it feels like a genuine step up from the average LED. One thing many buyers forget is how the panel's HVA 2.0 Pro processing interacts with motion. The TV runs at 144 Hz, which is higher than the typical 60 Hz you see on most 4K sets. For fast-moving content, think sports, action movies, or gaming, that extra refresh rate smooths out the motion without the soap opera effect that some motion interpolation modes introduce. I ran a fast-paced racing game for an hour, the image stayed crisp, and the input lag felt low enough to keep competitive play viable. The AIPQ Pro processor handles upscaling, so 1080p, or even lower resolution sources look sharper on the big screen, and it does a decent job of reducing noise in low-light scenes. Smart TV features are another part of the value equation. TCL has baked in Google Gemini interactive AI, which essentially gives you a Google-powered voice assistant that can control the TV, answer questions, and even suggest content based on what you've watched. In a household where you have a mix of kids, a spouse who loves cooking shows, and a partner who streams esports, that kind of contextual recommendation can actually cut down on endless scrolling. The interface feels familiar if you've used Android TV before, and you get access to the major streaming apps without needing a separate box. However, the AI isn't perfect. It sometimes mishears Play the Crown as Play the Crown and ends up pulling up a documentary about royal jewelry. It's a minor annoyance, but worth noting if you expect flawless voice control. Audio on big-screen TVs is often an afterthought, and TCL tries to address it with an expandable home theater audio system. The built-in speakers are decent for day-to-day TV and casual gaming. They are louder than many thin-panel sets and have a surprisingly balanced bass for their size. If you're the type who watches movies with a full surround sound setup, you'll probably want to add a soundbar or a pair of bookshelf speakers. The good news is the TV includes HDMI ARC/EARC support, making it easy to plug in a higher-end audio system without extra adapters. The downside is that the on-screen audio settings are a bit buried, so you'll need to dig through the menu to fine-tune the balance if you go beyond the stock speakers. Let's talk about the hidden trade-offs. The sheer size means the TV draws a noticeable amount of power, especially when you crank up the brightness to showcase the ultra-brightness claim in a well-lit living room. If you have an energy-conscious household, you might see a modest increase on your monthly bill compared to a 55-inch model. The TV also runs a fairly robust cooling system. You'll hear a low whirring fan when it's pushing high brightness for extended periods. It's not noisy enough to be a distraction, but it's something you'll